I just.
Welcome. Ron.
Ron.
Okay, welcome everyone. Everyone signed in. Now, clerk, will you please call.
Lisa Ganzia, Blair Clerk. Mr. Bernard.
Here.
Mr. Malloy.
Here.
Mr. Hernandez.
Here. Okay, Sharon, we're gonna allow you to go first and talk about ARPA.
Sure. Sherry Taylor, Commissioner's Office. I'm sorry to start this meeting out, but I've had a few people reach out to me where they got some grants, ARPA grants from the county. And they need a little bit more time to spend this money rather than December 31st. For instance, we'll talk about Liberty. They opened up, they're trying to fix their stormwater. They need beyond December 31st to fix this. And they're gonna have to, they've had a problem, you know, yourself, when you open something up, it turns into a bigger project than what you originally had anticipated. But I also got a call from Matt Martin at Trumbull Neighborhood Partnership, and they need some extra time. So instead of like piecemealing it in one group here, one group here, one group here, I'm gonna make a suggestion that maybe we extend the time period to spend ARPA funds instead of December 31st. I just think
Can we
that's,
legally do that?
I don't see why not.
Sharon,
Yes.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, when we had this issue before with some of the contracts, original contracts
Yeah.
and dates that weren't helpful. What we did and what Attorney Rogers did for us
Yes.
was just create a resolution amending all of the contracts.
Right.
And so I would suggest maybe
Yes.
reaching out to her and she could do that, but we have amended contracts in the past. We did that last year.
Thank you. And I did speak with Julie Green and she did say we could do that.
Right,
So,
but we've done it in the
That
past.
leads me to a question then. Can we extend the contract for emergency management and go ahead with that move then? Do we have to wait for the treasurers, US treasurers?
Well, we have to have money for it in there first. That's what we're waiting
Well,
for.
there are funds there, okay? But we're waiting for them to say that, you know, we could reallocate that money for that project. We can ask for a resolution. Why can't we just ask for that resolution also?
That's, excuse me, isn't, I believe that's a county project, and so it wasn't, there weren't contracts. These are the ones, it would give them, they would have the, if I'm remembering correctly, and you can verify with Attorney Rogers.
sure.
But if I remember quite correctly, all the county projects have a federal deadline. Everything else that was an award or a grant was a designated contract, and we made contracts with the county, contracts with those.
But if we have a deadline on 31st, he can hit that deadline. John Hickey's ready to go tomorrow. And we could hit a deadline by the end of the year if we didn't reallocate it.
For the sewer.
The only thing we need to
This
just,
county projects though is the federal deadline, not the deadline that's.
Yeah, we have to 2026. The county has till 2026.
Okay.
But all these grants, we call them grants, they're not really grants, but we've actually allocated monies to them, they have a deadline of December 31st, 2025. And I'm pretty sure that was across the board.
Sounds like we could. The only thing we have to relook at is, we talked about Hickey making the move. And it was gonna be 300,000, but now I see the sheriff's department building is like 380,000 on top of that. So we need to draw a line there of moving Hickey and then worry about that building after.
And I think we got some extra money though.
We do. We do.
So we want to give a whole 700,000 to put 380 into a
Well,
garage
I-
when
no,
you still
I
got the
just-
corner needs to move.
I didn't say that. I just said we do have the money, you know, but no.
We didn't use all that we allocated towards the accountant or even the attorney for
Right.
that matter. There's a significant amount there.
Yeah.
Not to mention John Hickey's, his own one was close to 400,000 that was left over from his project. So there's some money there. There's some money just.
There's some money left from the Marks Tower
Correct.
project. I don't know exactly how many, and we're still waiting to get verification that everything's done.
It's
Right.
worth it, you know,
Yes,
at least we can start moving him and then take care of the corner.
I'm 100% in accordance with that. I just think we need to look at that building again though, because that $380,000 to store a boat that's
Yeah.
never used
Yeah, that's.
is exorbitant.
Phil Danso, prosecutor's office. I'm afraid we might be talking about two different things, though. I mean, one of these things, this that we're talking about right now isn't extending the scope of the money, it's extending the deadline for them to spend under the scope that was already set.
That was
forth
already
prior to the deadline.
That's right.
When
Yeah.
we're talking about we're still hopeful about the EMA move. But that's what we're waiting on the federal government, and the Department of Treasury to see if they're going to expand the scope of the money, not the deadline. So that's the only thing I think we want to be
So I don't think
careful.
we're waiting on that. We're waiting on the government to extend additional funds is what we're waiting for. So
Well, that's another question of what I've
There's
heard the
three.
same rumor, right?
Yeah,
and that's the
It's
third
three
thing.
cross.
Could there be additional funds coming? I don't know. There's rumor of that. I agree with you. I've heard the same thing. The trick though is that, again, with the EMA move, that was not a project that was set and encumbered by December 31st of last year.
Right.
So unless and until Treasury decides to change the regulations to let that be reallocated.
Right.
We can't reallocate that right now. But these projects that had, I'll call them artificial deadlines set by the county through our contracts with the subdivisions. Those are contracts that we can extend the date on, but it doesn't expand the scope of them. That was already set in stone by the deadline of December 31st last year. I just want to make sure that we're kind of talking about the same thing here, because I wouldn't want to see us
short of,
jump off the bridge.
then let's key in and focus on just simply that. And then work with not only the consultant, lobbyist, but let's work with the center to see if we get a specific answer on just that for this instance of the money we have remaining that was not spent, to put it there and see if we get an answer from Treasury, just that one question.
We've done that. We've sent a letter to our state reps, our state senator, congressmen, and also to the Department of Treasury. And I just talked to our consultants and asked them if we received any word back yet, and we haven't. They keep pushing for an answer, like we keep pushing them for an answer, but.
I'm saying let's hone down our request to exact specifics. We want to do that. We want to use money to move to the EMA, to refurbish the EMA building and specifically just that at this point. And not more of a blanket. Can we move things around? Because I think the question we asked earlier was more of a blanket. Can we move money that's left over into reallocate other areas? If we just come up with the one simple question, then maybe we might get an answer a little quicker, I'm hoping.
Okay, I just want to be clear. This, what you're talking about, these were already agreed upon, met the deadline.
Yeah.
They need an extension so that they can complete their projects, which was already approved.
And in that same note, what guidelines did we give when we wrote these checks out? We had a township association meeting the other day, and I know there's a lot of townships got money. How do they report back to you? Like Liberty's telling you they're not complete, but how the ones report back to you that we are complete and it's done?
They send me just an email, a little packet, if they have receipts, they should, like, a couple of them, like, they bought, like a all-terrain, like Newton Falls bought an all-terrain, they gave me a copy of the paperwork showing it was paid, that it was in Newton Falls' name. You know, we just have the proof in that file that this is what they spent the money on. And if there's extra, they have to send it back to us.
And because I was so involved, Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, because I was so involved last year and in 23 with kind of organizing this, a lot of them have reached out to me. I always point them to Shara. Additionally, we had a notebook that
Yes,
created,
and
and
I-
I started that I passed on to
Because
Shara.
that's maybe one, we had those wonderful spreadsheets that you guys did. Maybe we need to have a new line added to it, like completion date, and there's something checked off that it's complete, here's how much money was
We can
spent,
do that.
here's how much money's left
Sure.
over. Right? And we need to hold the townships accountable too, because if they don't report back to us, then you
Right.
can't report accordingly, and then if there are additional funds that come up, they're gonna want reporting, they're gonna want fair reporting back.
Yeah.
We've been told that.
Yeah.
So if we can work on that, that would help a little bit too, to see how many we have still pending and how many are totally done, complete, out of the system.
The majority of them, I do believe, are complete, but. And Wayne, would you wish to speak on what you guys have going on? Because I know yours was a lot. You had some of the actual, the park buildings and whatnot as, along with the stormwater, and I think the stormwater became a bigger issue.
Correct, Wayne Hickman, Liberty Township. Super, we're on the Center Park project. Our project is a storm project. Number one, first and foremost, is a storm project to improve stormwater there in flood. We did put an estimate together originally, and here over that estimate, so like 2 years ago. But yeah, as you just said, that once you start, you do the survey, hire an engineer, and some tree trimming. But now that we're gonna
Ready to go.
project together, ready to go, engineer's estimate is coming in over the 250 mark, so we're bidding it out. So yeah, it's a large project for
A little bit larger than what.
yes, it's a
Anybody-
little large, but you know, it's nothing we can't handle. and
Right,
It's all designed and ready to go, just got to bid it out.
okay,
So you'll complete the whole project in its entirety, though, I mean, the ball fields are still getting attention and.
Yes. the ball
Everything
field
else
gets-
that was in the
yep,
ground.
there's 5 fields out there. We're taking care of 4 of them. The one is in the sun, doesn't get any drainage issues, but it's strictly drainage that basically in a walking pass with some stone on some walking pass. But besides that, it's upgraded catch basins and pipe. That's straightforward.
do you have any idea when you guys will have it completed? I know
I
you
think it'll be
mentioned-
complete by October next year,
So-
without a doubt.
It'll be up to you, that's kind of close in relation to us having to be completely finished by December 2026, so. I don't know how close that'll be.
That was
to you guys.
a $435,000 project.
450.
It's 50.
Yes.
We applied 200 to the ball fields and 250 to the, and I would absolutely have no problem with them moving some of the money over to the other part of it, because in my mind, they're very similar projects. And they kind of go hand in hand. Which is what they need to apply a little bit more ARPA money to the stormwater than they
Yes.
do the ball fields.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have
Thanks.
Trustee Cleveland is here. I don't know.
I think Wayne summed it up.
Please mention your name.
Oh, I'm Marty Cleveland. I'm a Liberty Township trustee. I think Wayne explained it well. It's all going to the ball field, but a lot more significant amount of it has to go for the drainage, which we were hoping it would be more above ground stuff, but if we don't do the drainage, then the above ground stuff will be correct. So,
Okay, thank you.
Very good, man.
Okay, thank you, Shara. We are going to move forward with a discussion, TEFRA hearing. This is issuing of revenue bonds for Shepherd of the Valley. We have Miss Erin Sutton here from Dinsmore and Stoll LLP, and Blake Teachler from Walter and Griswold LLP. I hope I said that right.
Did well. Good job.
He would just like to stand, give us your name once again, and then introduce us to. Yeah, that's fine.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Erin Sutton. I'm a bond attorney with Walter and Griswold. As you mentioned, we have beachers here with us today from Catapult to Griswold. We're serving as bond counsel for this bond transaction. We we serve as an issuer. So we're here this morning just to set the table, I guess, and set expectations for when Trumbull County would be the issuer of these revenue bonds for the benefit of Shepherd and Valley, which is a private nonprofit Sent to various continuing care retirement communities located in this area, either Trumbull County, Trumbull County, Collin County, and Columbia County, for the new facility. Back in 2013, Trumbull County acted as the issuer in a similar manner to issue revenue bonds that were used here in Trumbull County. The facilities over Shepherd. Did the same thing in 2018. The bonds were used to actually construct the Liberty campus for Shepherd Valley. So we're back again this time. They want to refund both those 2013 bonds and 2018 bonds, which right now are Huntington. They're going to be privately purchased and also fund the construction. So the important thing for you to remember is bonds will be issued under 11 code chapter 140, which is hospital facilities bonds, which the qualify as. This wouldn't be bonds or debt or general obligations of the county. It'd only be secured by the revenues and mortgages of the facilities. So happy to take any questions. This isn't the formal bond legislation. It's not even formal.
Right.
But there's some.
I
It's just part of
understand.
the sensitivity for you all. So you can.
We'll have to set up a meeting. So this isn't cost of the county. This is just informative of what you're doing concerning the facility in Salem,
Correct.
expanding into Columbia County.
So I submitted a letter to the board, some additional details, for example, the Liberty campus employs about 119 people in Trumbull, and the Holland campus employs about 118 people. So it wouldn't cost the county, and these are flow through revenue bonds, back the county would be first by showing credit expenses it might have, either related to the issuance or going forward.
Okay, I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing that you provide Shepherd of the Valley, beautiful centers, and I haven't seen the Salem, but I know where it's at and everything.
I think it's just a dirt patch right now, so they're
Oh.
breaking ground.
I knew that Blake, who is our.
Martha Yoder.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, I knew that Blake is, who is our bond counsel, will also speak a little bit. There, although we are passed through, there are some implications for us and our credit. So I think it's a good idea I just want to say my piece on this is to encourage the board to educate themselves of those. I'm not going to speak to them today, but I will say that our financial advisor, Matt Selinsky, is willing to come in and discuss these with you as well, because I think it's really important that you be fully informed going forward. There are implications as far as bank qualified interest rates and bank qualified debt, and that he can explain that more in depth. We felt like having Mr. Beechler and the council from for Shepherd of the Valley come in initially to talk to you is best, and then following up with our financial advisor.
And Blake Beechler, Calvi Halter, I can give a brief overview of that. Typically there are in the Internal Revenue Code 265B, there is a provision where banks that purchase debt under $10 million a year can take an additional interest expense deduction on their bonds, on the bonds that are purchased. For the county, if the county were to issue debt under $10 million, it could qualify those as bank qualified bonds, designate them. That could theoretically save the county a little bit of money with that bank qualification, because the bank buying the debt knows that it has a small deduction on the side, so it'd be willing to purchase the bonds at a little bit lesser of a rate, theoretically saving the county. If the county had plans to issue any debt this year, or if this deal gets delayed until 2026, what we would typically ask, and we've done this in I think 2018, is we've asked Shepherd of the Valley to make up that theoretical difference, making the county whole. Because you could theoretically, once we issue debt for Shepherd of the Valley, we go above that $10 million limit and cannot designate any of our debt as bank qualified. So what we would have is the county's financial advisor do a back of the envelope calculation, figure out that theoretical loss, and be made whole by Shepherd of the Valley. And that's what we did in 2018. So we make sure that the county is being a good corporate citizen, helping out, an employer in the county, but still not losing any money of our, which is kind of the key point. The other, potential risk, it's a really outside risk. It's just headline risk. If the county is the issuer of the debt, so the bonds will say Trumbull County, Ohio, hospital facilities revenue bonds, and then clearly say this is Shepherd of the Valley. If Shepherd of the Valley went bankrupt or defaulted on bonds, the headline will say, Shepherd of the Valley's defaulted and it's the bonds that, default. So the county's name will be on that. It doesn't really affect anything. It doesn't affect your ability to issue new debt. But it's what I call headline risk. Low chance of it happening, but feel like it's, I'm obligated to at least tell you that, there's in the bond buyer newspaper or something, it's a Shepherd of the Valley debt defaulted, by Trumbull County. The marketplace knows this kind of stuff. They understand that this isn't Trumbull's debt, that Shepherd of the Valley is the only person obligated to pay debt service. So it's a minimal risk, but I highlight that.
But in the long run of things, I remember when I first got here, we had very little debt and we didn't have a credit rating. We weren't rated highly because we had no debt. Does this help us as they take on debt and pay it back? Does it help build our credit better?
That's like, no. And that's why Mark Leo, Trumbull County Auditor, that's why we use for our debt, the OMAP program, because that helps us with that issue. We use that through the treasurer's state. That actually has saved us over the last couple of years ago.
Christy Cesaric Auditor's Office. It's not that we didn't have debt, it's that we didn't have the right kind of debt. We had paid off our general obligation debt, which we lost our Moody's rating with. But we still had debt, it just wasn't general obligation debt.
Wasn't the right.
And how much of that do we have now? Just the elevator and.
We have about 5
Those are
million.
just notes for me. We still have bonds that we're paying off from years back.
So, just to Mark Leo, Trumbull County Auditor, just to refresh that for the commissioners to understand, we have two separate kinds of debt as far as the length of time. So we have our short-term debt, which are notes in anticipation of bond. So we get those, we take that debt out before a project or before we do a project. Once the project is complete, we may pay a certain amount of it left over, we'll pay that back. But we'll pay a certain amount, but we'll usually, once that's done, it's the process is then to convert it to a long-term debt, which is bond.
So what's the total number?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I have provided that at various times this year.
Last time I saw
About
it was
the
around
budget.
5 million, I think.
No, that's notes.
Those
You're
are the
thinking of
notes,
in
the notes,
anticipation
yeah.
of bond.
But our annual, I'd say servicing of the long-term debt is over $2 million.
Right.
And that's just servicing principal and interest.
So that comes right straight out of the sales tax. We take that off the top of the sales tax.
And then there's additional debt that sanitary engineers has that's paid through their debt service funds.
Martha, Trumbull County Auditor, but those numbers were for both our long-term debt and our short-term debt were provided to the commissioners as part of the budget process in the beginning of the year. So if you check back in your email, you should have all of that paperwork. And although it will be slightly different now, it's not that great of a difference.
No. So we have it ready for 2026, so I could go ahead and forward that on to you. So you see what we have outstanding at the beginning of the year and what our servicing will be next year.
Okay,
So
we're gonna have another meeting.
Yeah.
We'll have to arrange that.
the bank qualification, like he's talking about is by calendar year. So if you would issue 10 million of your own county Trumbull governmental debt by the end of this year, then you would not have the ability to qualify that as BQ, bank qualified debt. So we would put in the loan documents anyway, whether you plan to do it or not do it, because we had in 2018, the Shepherd Mountain would reimburse you for that difference that make whole between losing the ability to issue your own debt.
And Martha, Trumbull County Auditor, and my concern on this was not so much for this year, but because I don't think that there will be, given, there's some projects on the horizon to discuss or trying to get grants for. But I think if any debt is issued, it would be any notes in anticipation of bond are issued, it would be next year. However, there are quite a few projects.
Right.
And also, we're not sure the status on the projects where we're on our current notes. So my concern would be if this project, if this ends up getting delayed, we're in September, and as Christy reminds me, in the second half of the year, it goes really fast. And she's right, my experience has been it goes fast, is that concern for me is knowing that next year, for sure, there will be some debt that they want to get. And so I just want to make sure that we are covered on that. And we, Blake and Christy have had a phone conversation, and that was, I think, Matt's concern and Blake's, but all of our concern is just making sure that gets covered and that it doesn't cost us.
So I see the word hearing is in here, so we have to have a public hearing on this, or is
We
it?
will, yes. So we wanted to confirm that Trumbull County will be the issuer because we have, 3 counties we could theoretically use. Trumbull County has been the issuer in the past. We're happy with the all in the process. So once we confirm that, Trumbull County will be the issuer of bonds, then we'll put the public notice in the paper. We gotta go to Mahoney, do the same thing. We gotta go to Columbia and also have public hearings there. There's facilities there, fire bonds. And you probably want to act last, knowing Mahoney and Columbia already approved it at their public hearing. Then we would come back, after this 2 times. But we do intend to close, they wanted to close in October, that's a little aggressive for me, but they do intend to close by this year because we are breaking ground.
Martha, Trumbull County Auditor, and I don't want to add to a delay in that, but I would strongly recommend that maybe we have Mr. Solinski come next week and talk to the board just to make sure that you have a proper understanding of it before you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gary Newbrow's in there, as long as we're talking about those, when is the next round? March?
Plan, that's what we're saying.
I have up to
Because it
4
costs
projects
us more.
I need notes on right now.
Right,
Okay.
the more often that we go, the bigger the cost is, it's better for you, County Auditor. It's better for us to do everything that we do.
And we'll need to start getting that ready pretty soon, as far as I know, there's legislation, so I'll send an email to you and Bob.
OMAP application, you have to redo that, and we do that, Martha, Trumbull County Auditor, we redo that OMAP that gets us that rating in the course. We have to do that. So those steps, it's not like, oh, we can just go sit down. You know that.
I know.
So Martha, should we as a board, if we don't have any grant movement by the first of the year, should we be planning on March if we are gonna take that on, of lumping that in with everything else in March?
Okay, we're gonna move forward. Ms. Sutton.
Thank
you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you stopping. And then we'll have that meeting. We can't meet with you. I'm gonna move forward with the agenda with Nick Lee, Planning Commission.
Nick Coggins, Trumbull County Planning Commission. On item number 20 is the first one here. This is to accept the maintenance bond from Fidelity and Deposit Company for the Howland Scope Center. This was a project funded by our PY23 Community Development Block Grant. They just wrapped it up. As with all these projects, we get a 2-year maintenance bond for any of the work that's done with them. This is just accepting that maintenance bond for the completion of that work. Item number 21 is to approve a satisfaction of mortgage for Pullman Professional Services as part of the countywide neighborhood stabilization grant. Our office runs housing programs every year. depending on how much money is put into the house or the facility, you get a 5, 10, or 15-year lien. So every year you'll periodically see 2 or 3 satisfactions. This is one with a 15-year lien done with the neighborhood stabilization program back when we had our housing market. They're at their 15 years, so they are due to be released. And the last one here is to reject the only bid for contract B, part of the Golden Triangle Infrastructure Project by Shelley and Sands. In your bids, it's written in that the Board of Trumbull County Commissioners reserves the right to reject any or all bids, delete any or part of the bid proposal herein. They're proposing to reject this because there's 3 parts of the contract. We got a single bid for one part of the contract. They need to fill, and they want to go back and look at the bid documents and make any necessary changes so that we can try to encourage more applicants, get all 3 of those contracts bid out at one time. The other reason for doing that is this is getting paid for by Economic Development and Adjustment Assistance Grant. You have to have all parts under contract in order to start getting reimbursed. So we don't want to award contract B, go out to work, rebid this, and have spent the whole contract B without the eligibility to get reimbursed, because we have to have all 3 contracts under contract in order to start being reimbursed. So we're asking to reject the one and only bid received on contract B.
Do we know if Shelley's gonna rebid it on all those items, or?
I don't know if they'll rebid on all the items. I believe, I would assume that they would rebid on this. Gary, do you have any?
Gary Schaefer, Engineer's Office. What was the question on Shelley, if they're gonna
Shelley,
rebid?
If they would rebid
I
it?
believe that they only bid on that one part. They're just gonna bid on that one part again, because they're mostly a paving company in this area. They said they don't have a concrete crew in Northeast Ohio right now. And that's why they shied away from the other 2 projects. I'd imagine that'll be the same way.
Okay, next.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Well, let me get through here because I think there's gonna be some discussion there, Casey. Agenda item 1 is to dispense with the reading of the minutes as listed. 2, to approve bills. 3 is transfer of monies, dates, and departments as listed. 4, additional appropriations as listed, dates and the department. 5, approve additional transfer of appropriations, dates and departments as listed. 6 is to approve decrease of appropriations to the departments through the dates listed. Martha, do you want to take this, or?
For number 7.
Yeah.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor. As I have talked about whenever we've discussed the budget, I am because my salary is statutory and I cannot take a decrease in my salary. I have been paying for items, usually just paying straight out for items, but this was the popular, I need an annual financial report that we do to PAFR. There's a fee for that. And talking to the prosecutor's office, we felt that this was best to do a donation rather than just straight out paying for it. It just saves my office $250.
Okay. We discussed the cybersecurity last
Yes,
week.
we did. So that you should. That's
Okay. Gonna move to 9. Stacy, if you'd like to take the floor.
Lisa McDonough, 911 Director. Number 9 is to authorize Trumbull County 911 to request proposals for the lease of office space to house the renovated 911 dispatch center. Interested party shall submit proposals meeting the minimum requirements to 911 Director McDonough at 911 Howland Wilson Road in Warren by 3 p.m. on Friday, October 10th. Proposals will be reviewed to ensure they meet the minimum requirements by the 911 Director as well as the consultants. Action has been approved by the prosecutor's office. So this kind of stems from where we were with whether boards of health could give space to commissioners, and that whole process after being reviewed by Bill. we would either have to do like a matrix utility study, or go out to bid for lease space. Our project with the consultants has had to stand still because we had to kind of wait to decide if that was gonna be the place we were gonna go. So it was decided that the RFP would be the easiest way to go out, and that way if potential other places wanted to, offer up space, they would have that ability to do so as well. Jason at the prosecutor's office reviewed it and, the RFP itself. And this is just the next step to get us continuing to at least move forward so we can have our consultants who we are under contract with actually do the work that they're supposed to be doing. They can't do anything if we don't know that, yes, we are going to a facility or what the facility would be, and this would also allow the health department, if they want to submit a bid, they can do that.
So in my discussion with the prosecutor's office, my understanding is because there is rent involved, that this needs to go out to a bid process. I believe, am I correct in that, Bill?
Yeah, Commissioner Bill Danso, prosecutor's office, just as a reminder, that was the issue we ran into with this was that originally the proposal from the Board of Health was that there would not, we would be moving in for free, of course, subject to paying our own costs. That sort of transitioned at some point into sort of a monthly rent payment. And the research that we had kind of showed that there is no clear authority that says that a Board of Health is an entity that we as a county can contract with outside of the competitive bidding. There is authority for that for townships, for other counties, for things like that, but not for boards of health of a combined general health district. So it sort of put us back on this path here where we need to at least go through, in my opinion, the process of 307-86I, which is the procurement of lease space. It's a little bit more relaxed than a traditional competitive bid, but you do have to send out a notice for proposals that we would accept. There's certain requirements. We did review for those requirements in the proposal that was sent over to our office. And, it at least needs to go out, in my estimation, for that competitive selection. Now, the Board of Health is welcome to submit a proposal along with anybody else who wants to do it. There's no problem with that. And it may turn out that they would be the best, but it may turn out that another entity comes through. That's going to be something up to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, so now I did discuss also with the prosecutor's office commissioners about the study. And if that is the case, we've already agreed to, the study of that facility. So in case that there was a bid that came in, and I'm not saying, and again, I don't know, these bids, if they were to be bid, they don't necessarily, do we have to accept the bid once they're proposed? Or how does that look? Because we're a little concerned about, that there's a concern about the monies and where the monies are coming from. And speaking with the commissioners, listen, we'd love this to happen yesterday, but, there's always a concern about the money. So do the consultants do we have any issue with the consultants for not following through with that facility? And can they be transferred to another facility in case that the commissioners have chose, that direction?
My understanding is that, yes, that the commissioners have already, I think, put a hold on that consultant for now with the Board of Health building. And is that the same consultant that you have proposed in here to help review those proposals?
Yes, only in the sense because they are consultants in 911 facilities and feasibility. So they could determine if they're, say we have 4 buildings that submit bids, they can go in and we've permitted for them to have walkthroughs of those space. So they can say, yes, this space is also feasible. Yes, this space is also feasible. Because at the end of the day, they work for us. They have no interest in where we're going. They just want us to go somewhere that would be acceptable for us as far as space.
Now, remind the board too, we've already had feasibility studies that were paid for. We have a 911 review board, and they've already looked at 4 different buildings, I believe it was, in the county that they walked through, and they recommended that this facility is what's best for us before the rent issue came up over other buildings that they've already looked at that were available at that time for us to lease and or purchase or have donated to us.
All right.
I have a quick question. It's actually Bill. Would I be
Hey,
putting
Lisa.
Lisa Denuncia, Blair Clerk. Would I be able to put this
So, yeah.
simply on the website? It's not really competitive bidding, so will it need to go in the Tribune?
I,
And then who's paying? I need to know.
yeah,
If it's going to-
I think I have to double check on that. I think it's advertised in the same way as a competitive bid is though, so I think it would be the same website process. Now, we'll verify that though, just to make sure.
If it needs to be in the Tribune, just bill us or we'll take care of the bill.
Okay,
And not to muddy the water even more, but we've been advised this morning too, there is no water at the 911 center today. No water, no flush toilets. We don't know if
Well, I know what the problem is now.
it's a problem.
Casey, just give your name, please.
Tacey McDonough, 911 director. The city of Warren, we are connected to Hillside still. That was never disconnected. Back in the spring when we addressed that before. The city of Warren, knowing that Hillside was out of business or currently closed,
yes.
went ahead with a project that's on Squires where they're digging down and doing some work. Because they knew Hillside was closed, they didn't think it would affect it, they didn't realize we were connected. So we did have water this morning when I got in at 5:30. It worked fine. And then just before I came over here is when we discovered we do not. So they're in the bowels of the pipes right now, so to speak. So they think it'll be done by this afternoon. So I know Harlan and them were trying to find potentially porta pots to bring over, but being that it's already 11 o'clock. I just talked with Patty, that's what I went out for. My suggestion, I know at home, if you don't have water, you just go get a 5-gallon bucket of pool water, you dump it down the toilet and it'll flush the toilet. She was gonna call them and see if they could go get 5-gallon jugs from Lowe's or something, so we could at least have flush the toilets for the next couple hours until they get that resolved. I don't know the results of that, but that's what they're looking at right now. If that's the easiest and quickest option, because I assume bringing in porta pots in, half-hour notice for a 3-hour window of what we would need them for isn't gonna work, but.
But again, that goes along with we're still connected to their electric. We're still slaves to them with the electric and the sewer too.
Correct.
That if there are issues that come up that we don't know about, they're just other lurking on the horizon.
So Commissioners, the only thing I wanted to say out to Stephen Jonesy Bush Human Resources Department is that this is not yes, that is correct. The water is still tied in to Hillside. However, this is not this will be fixed, is what we're being told by end of day. I just want to be clear on that. Water work this morning to what Casey said. I just got the ticket before I came here, just got a phone with Harlan, been texting Harlan. So it is the city of Warren who is working on a water project. It will be fixed by the end of the day today. I just don't want to start sounding the alarms to our employees, which we tend to do. So if we could just make sure that everybody's clear on the same page, this is not a long-term issue. This was a one blip in the road, so to speak. However, it is still up to the Board of Commissioners to, determine eventually this is going to keep happening. This stuff will keep happening when you're tied electrically and when you're tied water to another entity that's not open right now. The hope is that they do open, but they're not right now. So these things will continue and may continue to happen. We just all have to be on the same team and address them as soon as they happen, which today we were a lot quicker than in the past. So we're getting better.
It appears it's an oversight on the city. They didn't know that we were connected to,
Well, they wouldn't notify us. They would have notified Hillside.
Everybody, you know what, let's continue but let's give our names and that way I don't have to keep
I
saying.
did something.
No, you said your, Tracy, please. I'm just
proud of myself that I said my name.
I hate having to say this continually, but it is what it is.
Building into a prosecutor's office, I wanted to say, I guess, one more thing that you had brought up. I think you had brought up at one point, Commissioner, that, how these are selected, and I think my recollection, without pulling up the statute again, is that ultimately, if you do accept one of these locations, you have to determine it's the one that's I think the best value or in the best interest of Trumbull County. This also does let you negotiate price under this provision of the law once you get those bids in. So it's not as formal as a true competitive bid when you go through this process. There's some flexibility in the statute there. You also, I don't know that the commissioners have ever really done it in recent times, but you are also permitted to hire essentially a real estate consultant to help you locate other properties or help decide which is maybe the best value, best fit beyond the consultant in here. Again, I'm not sure that you really need to in this case, but that's an option. The other thing I will mention out there is, I think right now we are talking about leased space, but there is, to remind the board, there is no legal requirement for competitive bidding if the commissioners are interested in actually purchasing a location. There's some different statutes that apply to the purchase of real property than apply to the lease. So I know that's not on your radar right now, but I just figured I'd bring that up just in case it does ever shift to where there's an offer to sell a piece of property versus lease. That's a different story.
Well, my comment is that's strictly all procedure if we advertise, you know. My concern is the same concern I've had for months, you know, where are we gonna get the money? 911, coroner, all right? I'm not willing to borrow the money. I think another commissioner may be willing to borrow. My views, my opinion is the same it's always been. We're gonna take on this kind of debt. I think we need to put it on the ballot and let the voters decide how, you know, how they want us to spend their tax dollars.
I don't necessarily, I know Commissioner Malloy's point, I know Commissioner Bernard, your point, and I don't disagree with either. And, but I don't think moving forward with the bid process will hurt us. And I understand you're saying, well, where are we gonna get the money? Why are we bidding? But I think that at least we need to open up the.
We're gonna spend extra dollars for a consultant, sit there, okay? I think we have some other options with maybe our consultants. That's gonna take some time. I just.
But I think we owe the Board of Health an answer though, too. They're sitting on this and holding it for us.
Well,
They just had an opportunity where Cortland tried to come in and take the building and their city council luckily voted no. But the mayor wanted to move their admin building there, it was gonna block us from a verbal agreement we already had. And then the Board of Health is losing revenue or if they have space upstairs they're holding for us, they're not gonna hold it forever. We have an opportunity now right now, I mean, a ridiculous low yearly rate to be in that facility with no upfront cost as far as a purchase, or we're not gonna have a mortgage or anything. And I think the window on that could close at some time. We have to look at this as a bird in hand.
Commissioner, I'd like to mention though, we don't even know if that facility is going to come in at the best. If this is out for bid, we don't know, and even though I believe that it would be a wonderful location, I'm not sure that it's going to come in at the lowest bid that we could accept that. Is that correct, Bill? I mean,
Well, yeah, Bill Danso, prosecutor's office, with, again, keep in mind too, this is not a traditional competitive bid. There's a little bit of a different standard. But even with competitive bids, it's not just the lowest bid, it's the lowest and best. And here, again, the language is something like the best value to the county or something like that. So you're not stuck just with the lowest price. There's other things, and the request that Director McDonough's put together has a number of, I don't know what I want to say, qualifications or a number of things that need to be sort of met to fit the needs of a 911 center, at least the general basics of what a structure needs to have. So those things all come in, and then you guys would make that decision, not solely based on price, but partly based on price, obviously. But in also considering all of the other factors that are necessary for that center. And again, that's whether it's location, whether that's square footage, whether that's access, parking, whatever those qualifications are, you kind of view all those as a whole, not just price.
or integrally sound. That's why the consultants are there, to make sure that that building is integrally sound in case of calamity or what have you. So those parameters would play in too, correct? I mean, as part of the bid, that would have to meet that criteria.
Well, my understanding would be either meet those criteria or have at least an idea of how much it would cost to fit those criteria, because I'm not sure, to be honest with you, I'm not a property person, but I don't know how many locations you're gonna find that are already structurally built to withstand whatever the standards are that a 911 center has to meet. We may not find any building like that out there. Maybe 50% of all buildings are. I'm not the guy to ask on that, but that is something to think about, I think, in the process is the building already set up that way? Or how much would it cost if that building were going to be set up that way? And again, I'm not certainly trying to steer the board in any particular direction, but I think that's an important factor, particularly in a building that the county's not gonna own, is how much money do we as a county invest in shoring up the structure of a building that, hopefully it's a long-term arrangement, hopefully it's something that lasts many, many years and it's worthwhile. But if there would be a reason that we wouldn't stay in a location long-term, how much money does the county want to invest into a building like that? And those are all things I think that have to go through your minds as we're analyzing these. But right now, we're on the front end. We don't know what's gonna come in as far as, bids. We don't know what's gonna come in as far as location, square footage. We don't, we're really at the very front end of that.
And we did do the due diligence over 2 years. With the Port Authority, with a consultant, with a feasibility study. And it did rule out some other buildings we looked at, and this one again, for the record, is the one that was recommended by the feasibility study consultants, that this one is the best for what a 911 facility needs to do. This one meets what they need at the lowest modification price. Now, there are other ones out there that are better. If they are, they haven't been presented to us. And there were some presented to us where they wanted $500,000 for the building, which, it is, more than 10 years rent of what we pay at this place.
Right. Well,
Just for the building.
Again, Mr. Chairman, I could debate some of that. I don't want to. My main cause is we need to know where the funds are coming from. All right, I'm not willing to put the taxpayers in debt right now, especially with, the environment, what could happen with the property taxes going away.
So as of right now, you're saying we're not going anywhere in 911.
Correct, right. Until I find a funding source, you're absolutely correct. I'm not willing to put us in debt.
Right.
And I'm willing to take it to the people and let them decide what they want us to do.
but this doesn't stall, it shouldn't stall the bid process. I believe that,
Why do it if you don't know where the money's from?
well, I mean, because
Why pay a consultant the extra dollars to do what?
well, we're not paying the consultant. We're
We
actually
just
paying
paid an architect $210,000 to design a dog pound at a facility. You want to open that back up and look at maybe not going there. What's the difference?
That's the second dog pound design we had, Commissioner. So if
It's the same guy. All he did is modify his drawing.
You know what?
Let's stay on the 911, but.
I'm all about the money. Okay,
Commissioner,
and not putting us in debt.
This is just a bid process, so we're not putting consultants on yet. We're looking at getting bids, finding out if there's other facilities out there maybe that makes. You know what I mean? I just
I
know
would
what you're
rather
talking
find
about,
the
the money.
dollars before we do any of that. I like to know what we're working with.
Okay, well, we'll have to make it, we'll have to vote on this
Just to
tomorrow.
be clear, Bill Danso, prosecutor's office, the expense for the consultant that I think is in here would be if we get to once we would get to the step of we've got some responses in, and then there would be a walkthrough with the consultant in the locations that you guys chose. At that point, then there would be, I'm sure, a cost of the consultant at that point. So just, there is a cost in there, but it's not quite yet. It just depends on how far you guys want to go with this at this moment.
But we already have approved the consultant for that facility and an amount. So that amount could be transferred to,
Well, that's
Or
correct, but
delegate.
that's been also put on hold. So my understanding is there's no work going on, so there's no bill being incurred on that. It's been encumbered, I think, but it has not been actually spent because we put that on hold.
but we encumbered an amount,
Sure,
so that encumbered amount can be utilized.
it could be shifted perhaps, yeah.
Because we've already agreed on that, but we this came up, so.
We since we have our consultants here, let's put you on the spot time, but if we had a location, would it be easier to find a grant to pay for location rather than a grant to just go shopping?
Type 80 KO Consulting. We need a lot more details than just this hypothetical to be able to answer that question. I think the best short-term answer I could give is that we'd love to be a part of any long or short-term planning conversation you're having on this. Necessarily has to, particularly from a grant perspective, necessarily has to take place in a public setting. We think that that's maybe not the best for grants for you guys.
I agree.
Okay, This commissioners, this.
And maybe we need some more discussion with them before we move ahead with this also.
I mean, it's for a bid. I don't know, it's just a bid. We're not agreeing on anything at this point.
I think we need to see what's out there. If there's no
Well,
other
this-
alternatives,
this-
we need to give the Board of Health an answer that we're moving in
Right.
that direction, so.
Yeah, I understand the commissioner's point about the money, absolutely. But we do need to find out what's out there and whether or not, this is going to be the best choice.
Right.
So-
And we're looking at potentially, from what we've heard already, be about $1 million to move. And we paid 800,000 for an elevator. When it broke down, we fixed the elevator. To move 911 for $1 million and then have a $60,000 a year rent is nothing.
I thought
That's
it was
nothing.
more than that with the equipment. Someone told me it was around 2.5 million. I think it's.
We've already bought the equipment. We've already appropriated the equipment through ARPA funds.
Casey, what do you think it costs to move that? I thought you told me it was 2.5 million.
Casey, the 911 director, originally back when we spoke previously, I said best guess would be maybe around 2.5 million was just a guess. Basically, what we've been able to do over the last 2 years with our budget that you have allocated is we've updated pretty much everything. One of the reasons I was trying to get out in there today is we have a server project going right now. That was $150,000. That's money we don't have to spend going into a new building. We updated the computers and the monitors. That was $60,000. That's money we don't have to spend. Realistically, we just need a building. We need that space renovated to fit our needs, and we need furniture. That's gonna be your most expensive cost. Right about now, just guesstimation, dispatch furniture, it's not like just going to Walmart and buying a desk for your house. It's about $20,000 to $25,000 for that because they sit to stand, they have heating and cooling, they have monitors that slide back and forth. So that's really gonna be our biggest expense is gonna be furniture. So you figure 10 dispatch positions times, let's say on the high end, 25,000, that's $250,000 for that. And then your other big expense is gonna be the actual networking of getting our company to come in, run the cabling, running all the Cat 6 cable, doing the raised floor, which obviously would be done during renovation. I think we could probably get in for $1 million, $1.5 million on the high side. That's just a guesstimate. That just depends on what, structurally needs done to the building. But I'm confident we could do that. And in the grand scheme of things, when you're talking $2 million for a dog warden's office or, 1.5 for 911, it all depends on where your priorities are. And I hate to be, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but to me, citizens' lives, 911 calls, dispatchers, workability and where they're working. All those things are more important than the dog warden's office. And I love dogs. I got one too. And I mean, I would love to say, wish we had all the money in the world for all these projects to go forward. At the end of the day, where it really needs to go is the funding needs to be in place. I agree 100% with you. But where we missed the boat is we should have had that on the agenda prior to August. So it could have been to the voters in November and you could have raised the sales tax and we could have been bringing in money or spring of next year. My previous county, I went out and I got a property tax levy. Nobody likes property taxes. Mine at home went up $300 this year. I don't even have, because of those things. But guess what? In my previous county, we had $5 million. We were able to do all the things we needed for 911. We're 30 years behind the 8 ball because for 30 years we've been in a building that hasn't been really suited for 911. It was an afterthought. Hey, we need 911 in Trumbull County. Let's put you in here, knowing that you were going to eventually get us out. Well, that day's here. I mean, we really need to move. We need to have a better facility. We need to have something where people are happy about going to work because they have windows to look out. They're not in the basement of a morgue that's had flooding issues, that's had water issues, that's had heating and air conditioning issues. All these things that we know that have been happening for years. And I know you as commissioners, the new ones, have inherited this, just like Denny inherited it when he came on. But at the end of the day, we need to stop and say, hey, now's the time. Ask the voters to get behind it and support it. I know me as a taxpayer back home, it was $50 per year for 911 for my 911 levy. That's a trip to McDonald's. If you have 2 kids, you're spending $50. So me as a citizen, I'd be more than happy to not spend $50 one time a year to know that my 911 is going to get answered when somebody calls, to know that the technology is going to work, to know the computers are going to work, to know that the servers that have been sitting up there for 9 years are getting updated, which they're getting updated right now. So we've been able to do all these things with the projects, with the ARPA funds and everything that you've asked us to do with the budget we've been allocated. We've improved all these technologies. So really all we need is furniture and a building.
And it's out.
We can get by without a tower by doing fiber connectivity, by doing microwave house, but yes, a tower at the end of the day would be a good idea. I do have a company that's willing to come in and talk to you guys about an option for if you went to the fairgrounds.
That's an additional cost also.
That would be an additional cost eventually, but we can get by without that tower for a few years by doing fiber connectivity, just like we do now.
But I agree with what you said, take it to the voters, let them decide.
I agree. I just think we don't need to
I
stop.
think the voters elected us to make those decisions.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have voters micromanage every agenda item on here, especially for $1 million we're talking. That the voters do, that's our job. I mean, Lake County's putting $200 million into their safety center and their 911. 200 million, Commissioner, same size as us. We're worried about $1 million
I think it's more.
in a county that's bringing in $75 million a year in revenue and 210 million in assets. We're worried about $1 million over 911. We're not going to find a piggy bank that previous commissioners buried, in the woods somewhere. This is what we do. We take tax money, we allocate it to the services for the citizens. We're commissioners. We get elected to do that stuff. This is one of the things they elect us to do, is spend their tax dollars on things like this and not ask for more tax dollars, not take it to the voters and ask for more. You want to lower taxes, you want to reduce property taxes. Now you're saying take it to the voters for a levy or take it to the voters for a vote on it, to vote on how to spend the money we already have access over, maybe for new money, but I don't want to do that either. But we have the money in the budget. If we can come up with $380,000 for building for a sheriff's department boat, and we can come up with money, the sheriff's department's got about over $1 million already. Just out of this extra money was given to us by the clerk of courts before she left, and all these little things adding up. And she's saying they need furniture and consoles, and they'll be able to make it and they'll be able to survive. Why wouldn't we do that? They got to be spending close to $60,000 a year where they are on utilities and everything they have over there. This deal we have on the table right now includes all utilities, all maintenance, all custodian services, and while in the parking lot even. And we're looking at this thing saying, we're not going to find a better deal. I don't know what type of better deal we think we're going to find. These people are going to be stuck in that basement for years to come if we just sit here and don't act.
Well, I just want to remind the commissioners, we are still just talking about a bid.
Correct.
So we are not.
You got to put one foot in front of the other to walk.
This is about the bidding. We're not at that point, and everybody makes great points, and I understand it, and I agree with both actually. So it puts me in a precarious position, but we do need, I do believe that we need to move forward at the very minimum with the bid process, just to find out what's out there, who's the best, what's the best choice, at this point. And then we can, discuss, the money and where that's going to come from and how that's going to work. That's the way I'm looking at it.
I love being fiscally responsible, don't get me wrong, but there are sometimes, every building that we're in, all 23 buildings, 26 buildings the county owns, started out somewhere with taking a loan for something. We didn't just have the money in a pocket. We'll build a jail. We didn't have it to build this building. We didn't have it to build a courthouse or family court or any of the other things. We have to go out there and use taxpayers' money to do it. 911 center, we basically had a heck of a deal for the last 30 years, and it's time to move on beyond that center.
Okay, Commissioner.
Well, philosophy, I kind of disagree with you, all right? I think when we start spending taxpayers' money, I think they have a right to tell us how they want it spent, okay? And what I see is the dog pound, 911 in the coroner's office, they're all coming at us at once for that debt. And you said that you're willing to go in debt with that. I think it needs to go to the people, let them decide how we spend their money. Philosophy, you think one way, I think another way. I think the county people have a right to.
But who's pushing us? Who's pushing us for new dog pound?
Oh, wait a minute, hold on. You know what?
The people are.
And let's take it to the voters. Like I said, I'm willing to take it to the voters.
What do you want to have them vote on? Should we do this or shouldn't we do this? What is their on their ballot?
Here's the problem, all right? Once you borrow the money, then we're gonna have to put on a levy to pay for it.
No,
Yeah, well, what happens?
we don't have a levy for any of the debt we have on the
What happens
books
to
right now.
Property tax when we lose $8 million next year when the property tax goes down.
So we should cut all services now because we might lose money next year.
Say that we should be fiscal responsible and we need to watch what's going on, because none of us knows what's gonna happen next year when that property tax is
Right.
going about. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of horror stories, okay? I don't know if you're listening to them, but I am. I just think.
And 88 counties are gonna be in the same
Well,
boat,
you know
and
what?
every service is gonna be in the same boat, and all 14 of our
I
employees. are
am
gonna be
not
scared.
gonna go in debt. unless it goes to the people. That's my vote. If you want to vote that way, you go ahead. I think the people have a right to say how we spend their money.
So again, what do you want to put on the
If
ballot?
you remember, 2 weeks ago, the Tribune ran a poll. Do you want the county to go in debt for construction projects? It was 67-33 no, and that's without them knowing that we're gonna have to raise their taxes. If they knew that, it would probably be 80 or 90-10. I'm done.
If you're gonna live your life by Tribune polls, then we're in trouble. Make a decision.
No, but I think and talking to the people, they're saying.
No offense, Ray.
The people are telling me, okay, don't put us in debt and don't raise my
And people are
taxes.
telling me, where's the damn dog pound?
Well, then.
Police officers saying, when are you gonna do something about 911
Take
before
the
someone gets
difficult-
killed?
Let them decide.
Families are saying, why did my son get cut up in a garage?
And
All
why
right,
didn't you spend the money on ARP when you had it?
All right, but commissioners, we're going down
I know.
that same road
But
again.
that's
So,
what- My
Let's go.
vote is put it take to the vote.
I understand. Okay,
For clarification, I want to ask the question.
So are you saying, just with this clarification, you keep saying this, take it to the voters. So you saying put a levy on the ballot? Or are you saying raise sales tax? Or what are you saying?
I'm
Put
saying
what to
let them
voters?
decide.
How?
Right, because we'll work it out with the prosecutor on how, what the wording is, take to the voters next primary.
So
Let's
you want the
vote.
voters to say what though?
I
Is
want
it,
them to say whether they want a levy on her and they want us to, do they want to pay for 911 and the dog pound and, coroner's office? If we have to borrow the money.
and the voters say, no, we just don't do anything, we let it stay the way it is forever? Because some voters in
Until
elections,
we can find some grant or funding, yes.
I don't think that's responsible.
commissioners,
That's
tell
my
us,
I
opinion.
don't think it's responsible going in debt $12 million if they don't.
I think 12 million for a county is nothing. I just went to the County Commissioners Association. Most of those counties are taking out 40, 50, 60 million dollars.
That's not this county.
Mahoney, but that's every county. That's how you do business.
Well, that's not me, Danny. That's.
Trump didn't build a building on money he had in his left
You
pocket.
like spending money.
financed it.
I don't. If you like spending money, I don't.
Bill Gates didn't build Microsoft on money he had from his piggy bank.
commissioners,
Chuck Schumer would be
please,
proud.
please. Alex, would you?
I just have a question, Alex Jonesy Bush, Human Resources Director, for clarification purposes. It's again, your guys' decision, but I do feel like there's something that hasn't been necessarily addressed with these bids. So in the past, what we did with the specific 4 locations that we chose, the board at that time chose to go out for a feasibility study for. All 3, Tacey, I'm looking to you, all 3 of the 4 were deemed not feasible, correct?
Stacey McDonough, 911 director. There were 3 that we looked at, 2 were not.
Okay. So 2 out of the 3, this is gonna become where I just want you guys to look, or where I think the board should look before you do anything. I'm just throwing this out there. So we know 2 of the 3 were deemed non-feasible, so to speak. 1 was deemed feasible. At the time, that one that was deemed feasible, from what I understand, listening to the board, was they thought it would be not necessarily a lease, which then threw up a red flag. I get it. So let's take a look at where the timeline. Let's look at the facts, let's look at the data. That's where the issue became, that it became a lease, and then that if it were an owning, as Mr. Dienzo said, that would be a different scenario. We're not there. So we're back to kind of square one, right? All I'm gonna say or ask for clarification purposes is before you go out to bid again, should the board choose to vote on this, that's here nor there. My concern is truly that we're going out and looking at buildings that we do or don't know is feasible again. So why can it not be I'm looking as if you were to vote yes, if you vote no, you vote no. But why, if you vote yes, should we not be going out saying fully baked? It has to meet an F4. It has to be, shouldn't that be on them before they put a bid in, before we have to go pay for consultants to do that work, is my question.
If I, Tacey McDonough, 911 director, if I could just chime in, what we did do to kind of cover some of those concerns. Minimum mandatory requirements, so minimum usable square feet, 6,000. Lease term length, 20 years with the asterisk next to it as preferred. Primary function dispatch center, but some of the things are ADA compliance,
Very good.
those
Okay.
things. Must be located outside of a floodplain, must meet current international building code category risk 4 standards, or be able to be renovated to meet those standards prior to occupancy. Our consultants, it's written in here as well that they will be given permission to go through and verify that the space is feasible. So that is kind of covered as part of that feasibility.
That we would be on the hook for, or that,
That is part of our project of them doing the structural engineering, that we would be, they would walk through the spaces with us. So let's say we get a bid for 3 spaces and they're all pretty much similar. But we haven't seen these other two buildings, so we don't know what you're gonna get when you get in there. They would have the ability to walk through those spaces and take a look at them and say, yes, this is gonna meet our square footage, yes, it's close to communications hubs as far as, fiber connectivity. Those are other things that we put in here as preferred options, because if you have to run fiber from here to, 20 miles away, you're gonna have extreme costs in that. So centrally located, those are preferred items as far as in the bid, so those would kind of be covered as far as that, in my opinion.
So at the end of the day, there was two options that I heard, that it would be feasible or it would cost money. Correct?
Well, no, they would have to, so category risk for it, the building has to meet those in order for a 911 center to move into it. Even the health department in its current state, we don't know, because the structural engineering testing has to be done, which is what we have the consultants for, that we're supposed to be doing that, had this not come up with having to go out to bid. So no matter what building we go to, they're gonna have to do structural engineering tests to determine what needs to be reinforced, roof attachments, walls, whatever that may be. So basically, all this is saying is that the building that we do move into, whatever building that may be, needs to be able to be renovated or already be meeting those standards. As part of that would be part of the renovation costs in itself.
Built in, so prosecutor's office, I think that goes back to what we kind of talked earlier. I don't know, and I'm not sure that any of us know how many buildings there are that actually meet
That's my
that
point.
standard, that's,
Yeah.
that's kind of the problem. So in other words, if we made that a hard requirement of the bid package, there's a possibility that you don't get any bids because nobody has that kind of building, or more likely even that the owners don't know whether their building meets that standard or not. So I think that's why Director McDonough's done the kind of middle ground of it has to either be compliant or be able to be made compliant, because we won't know that on most buildings until we have that opportunity to do that.
But that is in there.
And the other thing I was gonna say too, just for what it's worth, is I can check on this for the board, but I'm not sure that counties have the ability to conduct advisory elections. Municipalities do sometimes have the authority to put issues on the ballot just to gauge the interest of their citizens on particular issues. I've never seen one done for a county that way. I'm not sure that there is an option for counties.
It's not a gauge, it's do you want to pay a sales tax for a
Well,
911?
I guess that's, to be clear on that, certainly the board has the authority to put a sales tax increase on the ballot or a certain property taxes on the ballot. But if it's just, I guess I wasn't sure where you guys were going with that, but if it was just a question of,
No, it's not.
do the majority support A,
No,
B, and C,
no,
that I don't think that's really an option for the county.
No, it would be a certain amount of money for a levy to build a 911 center,
Okay,
to build a dog pound, okay?
Okay.
It would be a specific amount.
sure.
Yeah, and see what voters said.
And one last thing I think we got Kimberly Clark, we got Foxconn, we got these businesses looking to invest here. They're looking for us to provide necessary basic services. They're looking for infrastructure within the county. They don't want to read the newspaper and say, this county we're moving to can't come up with $1 million for a 911 center. What if we need services out there? Or this county can't come up with, is having a problem making a decision. They want to put everything in front of the voters. That doesn't look good to the rest of the world out there. It lessens our quality of life, doesn't make us look so attractive anymore in the newspaper and on the news. If we're bickering about stuff like this with minimal amounts of debt, these companies are investing Foxconn $1 billion. Kimberly Clark, $1 billion are investing in our community. We're afraid to invest $1 million in ourselves. We got to believe in ourselves here a little bit too, and believe in the growth we're telling everybody is happening. If we don't believe it and we don't put our money where our mouth is and show that we're going to provide that quality of life that these billion-dollar companies deserve, we're going to be doomed. That's the old way of thinking. That's a handout everyone else's money way of thinking.
I totally disagree with the $1 million. I think it's much more than that, okay? And
You think because
if it goes to Cortland, okay, they just said they have to restructure the roof there alone. How much is that gonna cost? And also the walls, all right? That's far and above that $1 million that she's talking about.
Did you read the feasibility study that they had? Did you read it? They came back from the consultants when they said Cortland's the recommended one.
I saw that, okay, I saw that, but no one's telling me where the money's coming from. And I'm not saying I'm against it, I'm just against going in debt and putting the taxpayers, spending their money without them having a say in it, all right? And Foxconn and Kimberly Clark.
We don't even have to go into debt with this if we don't want. We've got money in Medicare funds.
We all welcome them, and we're answering all those phone calls every day at the 911 center, okay? Does it need to be
And they're supposed to have 40 employees. They got 17 because nobody wants to work there because of the conditions.
Well, that's not totally.
We're 7 people less than when I got elected
It's
2.5
not
years
because-
ago.
It's not.
That is
because-
true.
It's not all because of the conditions, okay?
It's not all.
It's.
So that's a big portion.
It's there because no one's applying. okay?
Commissioners, tomorrow,
So-
we're gonna have to
Yeah.
vote
Yeah,
on.
he's scaring everybody saying that Kimberly Clark and these people are gonna pull out.
I've been in these other meetings. They're saying pull your weight, communities, pull your
I've been in
weight.
their meetings and no one's told me that.
This can go on forever, Commissioners.
Not one person, not one
Tomorrow,
Kimberly Clark, we just met with them last week, they never said that.
Because they think everything's good.
Yeah,
Commissioner.
it is.
Tomorrow will be on the agenda and we will have an opportunity to vote on a bid process. And that's where we're
A
at.
bid process and we have no idea where we're going.
I want to move forward with agenda item 10. This is to award Coon Restoration and Sealant for Reed Point cracked or deteriorated mortar joints. This is for the courthouse common pleas. They were the lowest bid. 11, we got Gary from County Engineer.
Thank you, Commissioner. Gary Schaefer, County Engineer's Office. 11 is to concur with our office and grant the right-of-way permits listed. 12, to concur with our office and grant the supplier annual fleet permit that's listed. 13, to concur with our office, grant the special hauling permit for overweight equipment that's listed. 14 is to grant the operator fleet permit to travel on posted county roads as listed. 15 is to approve the closure of North Levitt Road in Warren Township between West Market and Caulfield Road. That's for the Meadowbrook Sanitary Sewer Project. So we're coordinating closely with the Sanitary Engineer's Office, Gary Newbrow. If it needs to be extended or if it gets opened early, to convey that to the public.
Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer, to elaborate on that, commissioners. We are going to be crossing the road in front of the new city in the coming weeks, and we need to put that sewer line along with Lemon. That's why we need that room right there, because it's close to the shore.
Yeah, and we narrowed it down to those, that time frame. It's Tuesday, September 23rd from 7 a.m. through Thursday, September 25th at 6 p.m. 16 is to concur with our office. These next two are actually re-advertisements, projects we bid out in May. We have to re-advertise for bids because we did not receive bids. So the first one is for the Town Viaduct Bridge project. That's the one that spans Meander, 1,100-foot bridge. So we tweaked the bid specifications. We'll get that back out to bid. And hopefully we get some good bids and get that contract. Or 17 is for the South Main Avenue Bridge over the Mahoning River. It's just south of downtown here. Same thing, bid that out in May, didn't receive any bids. Hopefully we'll get some good bids this year.
Good deal. Thank you, Gary.
Yes.
Bill, is this you, Bill?
Yeah, I'll take 18 and 19. Bill Danforth, the prosecutor's office, 18 and 19 are for the authorization of appointment of outside counsel. Number 18 is for the Court of Common Pleas Domestic Relations Division. They're engaged in some working through some issues with the Trumbull County Children's Services Board. And the Children's Services Board has their own internal counsel. The Court of Common Pleas does not, but we are statutory counsel for both of them. And the court has requested the appointment of Montgomery Johnson, LLP, as outside counsel to work through these issues with them, because again, they are both statutory clients of ours. Montgomery Johnson is the firm that also represents most of the courts through the Ohio Department of Administrative Services judicial insurance coverage. So they're used to dealing with courts. I'm waiting to get the exact hourly rate to fill that in, and as of the time I came up here today, I did not have that yet. Moving on to number 19, this is for the appointment of counsel for the Trumbull County Clerk of Courts. Clerk is engaging in some legal challenges against certain orders that were set forth by the Court of Common Pleas General Division. And of course, there we are statutory counsel for both the court and the clerk of courts. And we cannot be involved in the litigation between them. I have not heard yet from the Court of Common Pleas whether they're going to refer this to insurance counsel or whether they're going to be asking for appointment of counsel. But the clerk of courts has asked for Attorney Chacon to be counsel in this case. And again, just like above, I am waiting. As of this point, I have not heard what the hourly rate proposal is, but that will be given to them as soon as I can also.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. We'll skip over 23, Gary.
Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer, commissioners, this is the notice to proceed, so when we're excavating or Gilmore sewer project, which is the second portion of the Meadowbrook project. Its start date will be September the 29th, and the substantial completion date is January 28th of 2027. So we are looking at a 16-month construction period here. And then on item 24, is it mine?
Yeah.
But yeah, commissioners, last week we did approve the resolutions for this round's funding for WPCLF. I have the nominations here. This is the important one, Caleb Road, where we're going for that other $4 million forgiveness to put into that Meadowbrook area. So I'll need your signature on this one, Commissioner. And this year I put in big bold type. This is the project that we want threshold forgiveness for. This one, no. So remember last year, Commissioner,
Right.
they got confused with that. They gave us threshold forgiveness on State Line Road for $100,000. We wanted this 4 million instead. We were able to get that rectified. But hopefully get that 4 million again. Very important. That's why it's
Good. Thank you, Gary. 24 is a petition for a vacation portion of Overbrook Road in Liberty Township. And that concludes our agenda items. If there's no other further business, any communication, any business, we did speak with Diane, and she's going to get us information concerning that call. What do they call it? Yeah, clear choice. Clear choice. Okay. So we'll have information about that forthcoming.
So when they asked Dave Merkin,
Yes.
Complicated Caribbean. There will be a hold on putting out contracts at this point.
Well, yeah, at least, I mean, on that one particular. I mean, I don't know if that's.
Are you aware of what's going on?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
you want to explain it?
Sure. I'm Dave Merkin from Comfort Keepers. Last week, the commissioners approved a recommendation from the Senior Advisory Council for additional funds coming out of the senior levy for, in this case, personal care homemaker services. The recommendation came in as always, and for the 20 years I've been doing this, commissioners always approve the recommendation given by the Advisory Council. What they've done, the Advisory Council and I expect they're giving their time, but they didn't do diligence on looking at the RFP. One of the companies that they approved for funds from the levy who has never been involved in it before is Clear Choice Maid Service. They are not a home care agency. They are a maid service. If you look at the criteria on the RFP, I don't see how they possibly meet the criteria. We have, and this is Gina McLaughlin. Gina is with Care Builders, who is also part of the program. Gina's company and my company, we are licensed home health agencies from the Ohio Department of Health. We have nurses on staff to do supervision, do plans of care, so on. It requires, I have the criteria here. It requires the people, and it didn't matter if they're doing personal care or homemaker care, they have to meet certain criteria. Being the home health aide habit. I looked at the website, I see nothing that says this company does anything but maid service. Now, in the RFP, part of the thing is personal care homemaker. And that's all well and good, except the criteria. We do homemaker and personal care. Criteria doesn't allow someone who doesn't meet that to do the homemaker care, meaning cleaning, cooking, whatever. We do that as part of our service. If we are providing home care in the day, we're providing service during the day and we give our patient a bath, well, then we clean the bath. If we give them breakfast, lunch, whatever, we make the breakfast, then we clean the kitchen. But it's all part of homemaker and personal care. There's nothing that says just homemaker care. Now, I heard the comment, well, yeah, but we'll let them do homemaker care so you people can spend more time doing personal care. Well, two things about that. One is we do both while we're there. And we'll do the personal care, we'll do the homemaker service and so on. The other is the wait list that this whole funding was designed to help you. It's all for personal care. It's not for homemaker service. Gina has a list, I have a list of wait list. People are waiting for help with their baths, with mobility, with toileting, with whatever the case may be. And that's what they're waiting for. To say, well, we'll bring them on to do only homemaker is ridiculous. That's not what the money is for. Plus the fact that even if that was agreed upon, they don't meet the criteria that the RFP called for. So I just don't see any way that a contract should be given to a company that's not a home health agency that doesn't meet the requirements of the RFP. And I think it's real clear, Bill, that if you look at this and you look at what they do, that they don't meet the requirements. The committee never looked at anything but the RFP. They didn't say, and I know this, and Gina knows this because they didn't come to us to say, can we see your licensure? Can we see your training program? Can we see your nurses on staff? They didn't do any of that. So even if they decide they wanted a homemaker company, it's for naught because they don't meet what is out here in the RFP.
Don't be what they are.
Right.
Well, that brings up a concern because the commissioners are at the mercy of the board and of the director to give us the information and do their due diligence for the proper licensing and what have you. And then we run into this. This is shamefully a way that we're hearing about it. I made a call to the director, Diane, and she wants to get back to me, or she was to get that information. I've not yet heard any word back. But I can say, and I think the commissioners would agree with me, I'm a little bit upset the fact that we are at this point to where we're agreeing with the board, with the director, and possibly they don't have the proper licensing or what you had qualifications to do this kind of a service. So
if I may say one other thing, Dave Merkin again from Copper Cubers, and Gina can also attest to this. We send people in the house. They are home health aides. She has state tested nurses aides. Actually, so do we. We have nurses and so on. If our people go in the house to do their normal thing and they see something different with the resident, they will call our nurse, our supervisor, and recommend, hey, someone needs to look into this. This person isn't what they normally are. Yeah, they're declining. Our nurse will go out. There's no charge for any of that, but our nurse is on staff. That's part of what people will go out. You send in someone who, in all due respects, is a cleaner. They're not going to look at that person. They're not going to say, oh my goodness, they're declining. They're not trained to do that. Our people are trained. So even if you're cleaning, I mean, I couldn't tell you in 20 years of doing this, how many people that we have called 911 for to get them taken to the hospital or whatever while we're there. This company, they're not qualified to do that.
Well, we're not sure about that.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. You're right.
But I agree with you, but I think the original question was, is that gonna hold up the contract?
Yes.
Can we still proceed to award those two? They're part of the contract and then hold off on.
I think you already, the board already awarded those contracts, is that correct? So that's done.
So it's not gonna hold up the contract.
What happens to the other ones?
Should we put a hold on that or what should we do?
Well, I mean, the contracts have been awarded, so they may not have been signed yet. I don't know what.
No, they haven't come out. We have.
So that's a question for Diane. I think we need to coordinate with Diane, first of all. I think there's a lot of questions here and I don't doubt, I don't disrespect anything that you guys are saying, but I think this needs some investigation before we launch into a whole discussion of what needs to be done here. And I think we have to really take a look at all the documents, all the information we have to hear from Diane. And then we can figure out where we go from here. But I think it's a little bit premature to start canceling things and undoing things until we have all of the information that's available.
But I do think we need to pause on their contract before we get anything that out, we'll go out there and get money back, but that. And I understand too from talking to Mr. Merkin last week. They split the category between senior centers and home health care. The remaining three are able to absorb the workload of the one. If the one does not qualify, they can add more patients. They have the nurse staffing. So we're still treating the same number of beds.
I understand that. I think my concern is that we need to really find out from Diane and from the senior advisory council perhaps why did they move in this manner? I mean, right now, we don't necessarily know their, again, I'm not doubting that, but we don't know their side of the story of this. And I think we need to hear from them on their side of the story before we go down this path. And again, if the commissioners and if you guys want to work with Diane to make sure that these services aren't provided until we figure this out, that's up to you guys. You can do that, I suppose. But I don't know when these new contracts were set to begin. I don't recall.
October 1st.
October 1st. Okay, so
We've got a couple of weeks.
yeah.
Well, again, from my position, again, I'm probably, we had already started calling people that we had taken off of our list when we ran low on funds to tell them we're starting back. But I guess I can't start back until I know that October 1st is really the trigger date or whatever.
I really think you guys would really need to work with Diane, first of all.
Diane is looking into it.
Yeah.
She is going to get the commissioners, the information that we need to move forward. So I spoke to her after I spoke with you. And she had already been advised about what was going on. So, and again, I mean, if everything is in order, and I understand Mr. Merkin's point, apples for apples, but you can't be, the commissioners can't hire a service that's going to go in and can't perform the functions that they should be able to perform. And again, we don't even know, maybe they do have the proper licensing. I don't know, but these are things I think maybe the board should, let them know that these are things that they need to consider before hiring these types of services, so that we can make a valid decision based on their recommendations.
Whatever Diane comes up with, I think the prosecutor's office needs to look at it.
And that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
We have no problem with that. It's just,
Right.
like I said, I think we need to gather that information
Right.
first.
Thank you, Mr. Merkin.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry to come and complain all the time.
That's for the gentleman.
Okay. So I think that's it.
Mr. Pegg, you have any?
Oh, wait, I do have one other thing, commissioners. It came to my attention and I spoke to the prosecutor's office concerning it. We are in agreement with an aggregate with Buckeye, which will commit us to a 1-year commitment if we do not have a letter to discontinue service with them prior to the 6 months in advance of a night bill. We had discussed it. It's not saying that we won't continue service with Buckeye. What it's saying is if we don't opt out before the 6 month and the term, when the term ends, we will be committed to a full another year. I don't think we want to be in that position. So we need a letter. I don't know if the prosecutor's office can help us with the letter.
It would just be, I mean, so Bill Danso, prosecutor's office, it appears that the Buckeye Energy contract that you guys have right now with the board has a provision in it for automatic renewal unless either party opts out and you have to give 6 months notice. So I told Commissioner Hernandez, we have done this in the past in various things, that there's generally no harm in sending an opt-out notice. It at least preventing that automatic renewal. And that doesn't mean that you can't then decide to re-enter a new contract with that entity, but at least it prevents that automatic renewal.
Right.
So I think if it is something that you guys are looking at potentially moving in a different direction, or at least wanting to take in some different proposals, it is something that just a basic letter, and we can help with that, but what we would need is just to see, generally what we would do is just say pursuant to whatever section of the contract that is, we're exercising our 6 month, the opt-out ability that we have prior to the 6 month deadline. And, sometimes, we'll even say, in there that, there may be additional requests for proposals in the future, things like that, but at least exercising that opt-out, if that's the way you guys want to go with it, at least it protects your options going forward.
I mean, I don't think we want to be committed by not opting out when, if there's better proposals or a different route to go. And then, because Buckeye's been with us since 2008, we've never had to exercise that 6 month. And I don't know, when's this up, Sherry?
March.
Yeah, that's our last for the,
But 6 months.
May.
March.
March.
I think
So,
it's a wise move that we write the letter.
yeah. That gives us 6 months in advance. What is that? No, that's not September.
We can get.
March. That's by the end of the month.
We'll write the letter. Write the letter.
I mean, we can help with it. I have no problem with that. I just have to, basically see what
It's
section
just
of the
basic
contract it
terms,
is.
yeah.
We need that ASAP.
I could do
It's
it.
just a short paragraph, but
I'll do it.
yeah, no problem.
I'll send it to you,
Yeah.
approval, and then we'll
No problem.
have the president of the board sign.
I have a question. All right, you're finished
Well,
discussing.
and I think though, that may be something that, it may be something that we want them to authorize that letter, so maybe we can throw it on the agenda if the commissioners are okay.
Sure.
Oh,
To authorize the letter of
Yeah.
oh, for
opt-out.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, that's a 1 sentence agenda item I'll help you with if you want, so.
Perfect.
I just wanted to confirm the regular meeting dates for October, if we could.
Yeah.
Since it's already gonna be September 17th tomorrow. Just so we have an idea.
See,
There's
Commissioner-
5 Wednesdays in October.
the what?
There's 5 Wednesdays in October.
Right.
And
And
it was my
we have
understanding.
2 that are,
Yeah, it was my understanding that week of October 20th, there would not be a meeting.
Or a workshop meeting.
Right.
well, because I don't think there's going to be a quorum, right?
Correct. Commissioner Malloy?
My place is tentative, but yeah, we can schedule off that week. The 20th would be a problem. That's the date for it works out.
Is that Columbus Day week?
No, that's
the
the
week
week after.
Okay.
So Columbus Day, the week of that meeting would be on the 16th,
That would be the
the
day,
Thursday. It'd be bumped a day,
right? Columbus Day is on a
Monday,
Monday,
Monday the 13th.
so we would move the workshop to the Wednesday and the public meeting to the Thursday.
Is that
Correct.
gonna work?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
good. All right. Well, with that in mind, commissioners, you.
One last thing, sure, we have about $1 million in the contingency fund right now, correct? 980,000 plus the 94,000 we're getting back from the.
Yeah,
TIF.
I've kept you, I haven't looked at it lately, but I just.
How much do we have in the Medicare fund or Medicare, so.
MCO, I don't, it's like 4 point something, 4.4 something.
4.4 million.
Agency Budget and Resources Fund. Just to remember that is a non-refundable bucket of money, so that money was a settlement, was monies.
Like
that-
ARPA was.
Correct.
When it's gone, it's
Once
gone.
that's gone, it's gone. All of your other buckets.
But I'm just
Yeah.
stating for,
Yeah.
we have about $5.5 million that we can't spend. So if we do decide as a group, move John Hickey, do 911 for $1 million, do something toward the dog pound, we do have $5.5 million we have accessible without raising one tax, without one levy, without doing anything different.
Is that your funds that?
No, so, no, the MCO was, the state of Ohio, and I'm not an attorney, so if there's any changes, let me know. This is just what I know from working at Job and Family Services and also having just. But long story short, the MCO was, state of Ohio received kind of similar to what you may consider the opioid funds. However, the opioid funds are not a one-time given. It'll keep going a little bit, throughout the process. Where the MCO funds was, Medicaid driven. State of Ohio, there is Care Source, there's Humana, there's Buckeye, there's all these, and MCO, which is the managed care organizations. It was basically deemed that the state of Ohio was owed money back. Each county got some monies from this, so on and so forth. Trumbull County got a substantial amount of monies. I think it was to the tune of like maybe initially about 7 million. But this was I'm talking a while ago, not previous board, the previous board before that. So these monies have been here at least for the past 10 years, I can tell you. We have, what?
I thought we could use that. That's where I'm thinking of the other.
Yeah.
the other account.
So this account, again, I know in the past, just as long as I've been up here in the capacity of human resources director, I think we've expended about $1 million. I think 500,000 went for Valley. I don't want to use the wrong word. Valley Vision, and then there was an ash. I think it was 500,000. I think it was roughly $1 million was dedicated. It was at 5 when I came. I think it's down to 4.4. Don't quote me because I don't have my certificate from the budget commission. But that money is again, the only thing I want to caution the board is that money will not come back. Once it's spent, it's spent.
Right. I think that's no different than any other thing we spend. When you spend it, it's not coming back.
Some of our additional.
But traditionally, what does that money go for?
There could be-
There is no tradition because it's new money we got
So
in
what you're
settlement.
telling me is that we have $4.5 million
Sitting
sitting in this fund that we could use.
Yes. We could literally move the corner
I don't,
and do 911 and still have half that money left.
we would have to brush up or you guys.
Why
can
haven't
ask-
we been told
Well-
about that before?
We have, this has come up but we've been saving that in case
Bill,
budget
it's the
overruns.
prosecutor's office. I think the one thing that we need to firm up on, I think that money may be included in the amount of reserves that when you guys talk about the reserves that you want to keep a certain percentage, I believe that MCO fund is included in that.
Well, of which we were about $4 or $5 million more
Sure,
than
and
we need to keep.
as you guys have been told before, dipping into the reserves is really a function of how comfortable you are dipping into the reserves. I mean, that's,
This
but I just
is,
don't want you, I don't want to give you.
this was separate money. Actually, I found out about it when we had when we were approached with Valley Vision for the $1 million. That's when Commissioner Cantalasa said, hey, we got this fund. There's $7 million sitting in there. We can use this. We don't, we're like publicize it, blah, blah, blah. It's something that's on reserve in case of a rainy day. And we tapped into $1 million of that and it's still sitting there. And like you said, yeah, it doesn't come back again, but neither does the ARPA funds. But this is like, if we treated it like ARPA funds, it's $4.5 million sitting there. We can use our discretion. And we've got the $980,000 still in the contingency fund from the original 2 million plus the 300,000 that we set aside. So
I do.
we're literally sitting on about $5.5 million. It's not in our budget. It's not allocated to go to any budgetary general fund things that we have to fund. It's money that's in a savings account just for us to use on something.
The only thing I'll say about that, Alex Stephen Jency Bush is, yes, I mean, is it there right now? Yes, do it. The Board of Commissioners needs to regroup and have another budgetary meeting because I know for a fact that we are going to be overexpended in utilities. I know for a fact that we're going to be overexpended in certain areas. So out of that 1 million over in the, 921 sales tax, 920, all that. That really should first go towards what we need to operate today, but that's not my call, that's your call.
But the
Just
last
start that
4
out.
months, we've made $400,000 more.
Yeah.
In sales tax than we expected.
But also. I'm
And even
asking-
last month, when we thought it was gonna be lower,
Sure.
we were still up $4 million or $400,000 more than we anticipated.
All
So
I'm
that, if that trends that way, we get another $2 million more coming at us that we haven't seen yet. If it trends the same way it's done for the first 8 months of the year.
Also, I'm asking is that you go look over the budget again before.
We already
There's
have
a-
a scheduled September 30th at one PM, Chair Taylor, Commissioners. I will be doing my due diligence and bringing to you what, because we have to pay a lot in the general fund,
That's what I'm.
that it's, I already have that.
And I think we are moving forward fiscally responsible as a board. And if we spent some money we had and we're able to provide the taxpayers dignity with the coroner, answer their needs that they want with the dog pound as far as their emotional needs with the dogs, and provide safety services better for all the firemen, police officers, and citizens, then I think we've done our job pretty good.
Well, I think we need to take one step at a time,
I
but
understand.
but when you're telling me that we have $4.5 million, and if it only costs $1 million, maybe $1.5 million to move 911, then I think that's a whole different story that I was definitely unaware of. I mean, and I understand what you're saying, once you spend it, it's gone, but I think my opinion is I'd take a very hard look at that. I think.
And I'm with you, and I appreciate you saying
And I
that,
would
because I think we
I
should.
would think that, that's just a different light, because I know how important 911 is, okay? And the coroner, but I think we have the coroner's answers. Money situation, I think we could maybe go around that a little bit, we don't have to use this, but.
Just keep in mind, commissioners, with where we're at with it, and I would agree with you too. That we do have major expenses at our general in utilities that are coming, and then we have.
But we have the other money right now, we have an extra $4 or $5 million that has come in from sales tax, which we didn't anticipate. This is different money that's sitting over here.
I understand.
That's
understand.
That's different
And
than
it's
we.
still trending.
I understand.
Right.
On sales tax.
Kind of like when if you're a homeowner and you want to put money aside, you want a deck or swimming pool, you got that other little account. When you have enough, that's when you do it.
Well,
This is being fiscally responsible that way.
yeah, and I don't think we need to spend it all, but I would certainly look at that.
So then can I ask the question why we're going round and round when this is available and we got these crazy.
Because we're turning over every rock, we're trying to be as responsible as
So
we can.
again, so prosecutors office, I think because you guys had that discussion and you did dip into the reserves early in the year for,
We did.
was it $1 million?
I think we were at 12%.
So again, you had to talk about, and that's what you felt comfortable with at the time, dipping into that reserve. Now, perhaps at the end of the year, you're comfortable dipping into it again for 911. That's up to you guys. Absolutely, is something to think about. But I think the reason that you haven't uncovered this before is that this is, I believe at least, and unless I'm mistaken here, I believe this is counted as if that 12% reserve, this may be 3 or 4% of it, or 2% of it, whatever that percentage is.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
why you haven't, I think, gone down this path,
Right.
because you were cautious about that reserve. Now, perhaps you're so, maybe you hit the point where you're comfortable enough with the sales tax income this year that you're not concerned about that reserve as much anymore. And that's fine. Those are just the things that I think you guys want to think about when you're doing this.
If
That's
you
all.
can recall,
So
Ben,
that
I
12
think
million that's in reserve, 4.5 million is part of that?
I believe so.
No, and then it's more than 12 million in reserve. 12 million is where we wanted to be. We were like 16. And even if it did or didn't include it, I don't know.
Commissioners,
Even
I
if it
think we
did.
need to look at the amended budget certificate before we talk about any of this. I think that's where we're headed down it.
Yeah, I'd
The
want to look at
information, I
the,
think Bill makes a good point. That was my point that I was trying to make, but thank you for reiterating it. You just need the 4.5 is there, truly. It's not that it's not there, it's there. But you just want to make sure, is it included, to what I think they're saying, is it included in that amount of reserves that we currently
I
have?
believe that it was. When we did our budget with Martha at the end, I don't believe it was.
And that's fine, but
well,
they're
that's
not
what we-
sure,
that's
you're
what
not
we
sure.
need
I
to
think
find
everybody
out.
needs to look,
And if
that's all I'm
it's
saying.
not,
Let's
then
just
that's
look
a
at
whole
it.
Right, that's what we need to
Sure.
find out.
So we just need to look at it collectively.
Can you find out?
Yeah, absolutely. it will.
And as you recall, we were concerned about the departments first,
Correct.
rather than the capital
But if
expenditures.
that's better.
But But, and Alex, you correct me if I'm wrong, we looked at like counties' population. And they came up with I think it was 17%, dipping in 17% of that reserve.
I wanna
I
say.
believe that was the number.
I think, and again, I'm gonna have to go back and read. A lot of different numbers. I don't know why my gut was telling me it's between 11 and 13. I could be wrong. I'll go back and look. But NACO did come out with some sort of. I think you bare minimum, you don't want to go below that. I'll say just 13 here, but yeah, maybe we had 16% and we could go below that. That's what I have to go back. It's
It
been.
was even more than that. It was, I think it ended up being 2 months operating expenses, and I think for us was about $12 million. And we were well above
Maybe
that.
that's where I'm thinking 13 million. Maybe there was 13 million. Maybe there was 16, but we took.
I'm curious about this for.
I'll find out an answer for sure, and that could be an answer to us. It's a nice compromise. We don't have to ask for one penny. I don't want to tax anybody else. I don't want one single dollar more for the taxpayer, but if we have it. And that was something given us that we earned by overpaying before. Let's use that first.
One step at a time, and that could be the first step.
And if it does turn out to be the case, the good thing is.
Nobody needs anything more than. I tell you, I got $20 in my left pocket and I try to borrow money off you because I got nothing in my right, but I'm still sitting on 20. Come to me when the 20's gone.
We'll find out.
Questions?
Lisa, you have a question?
Yeah, one more thing. Major Bobby's asking if they can put an item on the agenda to advertise for the jail medical care. Plus for beds.
That's the.
That's his.
Yeah. Have to do that.
Yeah, but the contract's gonna expire with the one they have to do it.
Okay. I'll be adding that. That'll be.
Have you looked at it, make sure.
Our office, built into the prosecutor's office, we have reviewed their proposed request for proposals, so I believe it is ready to go when it's on.
And I think that's standard. We've done that. I think last time we only had the one bid that
I
came
believe
in, so.
that's correct.
Is that okay if I add that tomorrow? Okay.
Commissioners? We need a motion.
I'll second that. I'm glad we are leaving with smiles on our faces after this meeting now.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr.
We'll
Malloy.
always
Yes.
a smile.
Oh, yeah, I
Mr.
mean,
Hernandez.
yes.